Hello, my name is Bradley and I'm your host of The Internal Game. Today I want to talk a little bit about labels, right? Like how we label other people. You know, we do know that what we believe in someone else, what we assume in someone else, like this quote unquote other, we activate this within them, and then this becomes our experience with this other, right? So we probably should be conscious about how we're viewing people, right? So again, this stuff comes from self, but nonetheless, we should really be conscious about how we're viewing others. You know, I get the internet has a lot of labels, right? You may be dealing with an avoidant. You may be anxious, and this person may be avoidant, right? I can tell you right now, I have experienced both anxious and avoidant with my wife. I can tell you that I have been both before myself. I can tell you that I've experienced people with narcissistic traits, and I've also seen them not have this with other people. I've also probably myself have demonstrated narcissistic traits before. Also experienced it with other people, right? So, not saying that I am any of these things. I'm saying, like, in all honesty, we are everything, right? We are everything, and so is everything else. Is everything. So it's kind of like that's what's that little story of the two wolves? It's like one's good, one's evil, and he's like, which one wins? And he's like, whichever one you feed, right? And it's the same with people. Like, what we focus on in people, or what we start to label them as, and really start to put our attention on, our awareness on, we activate this within them. So if we are in a needy place, right, and we're not really feeling whole and complete within ourselves, and then we let's just say we have our awareness on a person, and we see them become distant because our energy, they are responding to our energy, our anxiousness, trying to, no, I need you, right? And they have to respond in more of an avoidant type of way, right? And then we get on the internet and we're like, oh, I think this person's just an avoidant, right? And then we're like, what does this even mean? And we start watching videos of what avoidant means and these typical behaviors they have, and then we take all the responsibility off of self, and we throw it on, and we throw the blame on them and say, oh, they're just avoidance. And the best thing, I've watched many videos, and the best thing I need to do is just leave, because that's just who they are. Like, they're not ready for love. They don't know how to love, all this stuff, right? All coming from us, right? And I guarantee you that if this was like a dynamic that you found yourself in, you would, if you were to stabilize yourself, actually realize the wholeness within you, be completely satisfied with self and your own state of being, and focus on you and your life experience, that this person would then enter this new world, even though they're this avoidant that the internet says that they can't be changed, right? But the more that we focus on that, the stronger this label that we have the more strength we put on this avoidant behavior that they have, right? Again, all from like not taking the responsibility and saying, oh, they're just being this way. Same thing with narcissistic. Now, am I saying that there aren't some actual dangerous situations out there? No, of course there are. But I'm saying that we can activate anything in anyone, because everything is everything. And when we put our awareness and we label somebody as narcissistic, we're going to start to see that, even if what they did was just like a couple little selfish behaviors or like, which we deemed manipulative tactics, right? And then we put our awareness on that. We start reading about narcissists. And of course, on the internet right now, everywhere, everyone's a narcissist if they disagree with you, right? Again, all these things are just everything, right? So, and said person's experience with a person, right? And then whether it was real or imaginary, it's how they viewed it. They probably got some behaviors that were reflected back, and then they're like, oh, this is how this was. This is who this person is, right? So we can activate whatever in anyone. So it's best if we activate the God self in other people, It's best if we activate the, I mean, everyone's a God, but I think you know what I mean. Like you activate the best in someone. But this is only really like you're only ever going to be able to do this when you actually can see the best within yourself. Like the Namaste thing, right? The God in me recognizes the God in you. But this goes for everything. Right? Like I've said before, the jerk in me recognizes the jerk in you. The selfishness in me recognizes the selfish being in you. But again, if you don't recognize the God self within you, you're not going to see it in somebody else. If you don't recognize, what have you. So we need to really be careful about what we accept to be true, right? Maybe so, like, not everything has to have some label, and then we throw these people on these labels and these identities, and then we experience this. But not everything has to be this way. Now, granted, if you have been in some scenarios that maybe aren't the most favorable, and then you're like have really strong stories, assumptions, really got some momentum behind these labels that you put on people, like it can be a little challenging to view them in a different light. But again, this becomes easier when you start to view yourself in a different light. The reason that someone would be anxious, like in an anxious-avoidant attachment style, right? Think about it, attachment style. What are you attached for? You don't need this person, right? You can prefer this person. You can, like maybe the person you like. Maybe the person you want to spend your whole life with. But you don't need them. And if you find yourself in a need and this attachment, and you're the one that's more of in a needy behavior, they're going to be avoidant. That's just how this goes. Now, the degree of it depends on like your degree of attachment, but it's still going to be the same nonetheless. So we don't have to just say, oh, that person's an avoidant, and then I can assure you, once you start saying stuff like that, especially after you've already kind of pushed them, kept them in a distance from your anxious state of being and your needy state of being, once you start really honing in on this, like, oh, that's who they are. Yep, they do that too. Yep, that's what they do. And you're reading all these like characteristics of an avoidant. I did that with my wife one time. I think I even told her one time, I think you're an avoidant. She was like, what? I wouldn't say that about her now. And also the roles have been reversed before, like in my relationship, where like I was more avoidant and she had more of I guess an anxious attachment, right? These things were long ago, but nonetheless, like it still was, I activated certain things in her by how I viewed her, right? That's it. I've viewed her as selfish before. I've viewed other people as selfish before, and then I've got those experiences back. And not just with romantic relationships, that just tends to be the ones that we really, really focus on because there are romantic relationships, right? But it's like this with anyone. You will activate what you believe to be true about this person in your experience with them. Doesn't mean that you activate that with their experience with somebody else. Because like, how many times have you seen that? Like, oh, he didn't do that with me, or she didn't do that with me, but they do it with that person. Of course they do. You, like in your experience, that's how you said they were. That's how you viewed them. However that may be, and that's the experience that you got back. But again, just the two wolves, whichever one you fed, whichever reality with them that you put the most attention on, the most awareness on, is the one that you experienced. So, what's the solution to all this, right? You guessed it. Self. The more loving you are with self, the more accepting you are with self, the more whole and complete you are realized from within, the more you wouldn't need somebody, right? Or the more you wouldn't need someone to be any kind of way to feel loved or to feel safe. And when you can do that, you can then have healthy assumptions, healthy viewpoints on other people, which activates this in them. And you'll have that experience with them. But it all goes back to self. And if we're scrolling and we're like, this person is this person is this, I'm an empath, so I take on this, and this person is a narcissist, and I'm actually more anxious, and this person is an avoidant. I'm this person is bipolar, this person is we have all these different things these people are. That's going to be our experience with them. And even if you had just met someone that was like kind of full-blown, I guess, I want to say full blown, but like has some serious traits about some label, it's still you. Like it's still something in you that is like attracting this type of person from the jump, like, right? Like, even if it was someone that you didn't have like set eyes on, you just like met them at a party, like, or you felt that real strong connection, and they ended up being an asshole or a cheater or whatever. It still comes from what you had going on within you, because consciousness is the only reality. Consciousness is the only reality so strongly that when you're scrolling, you start accepting stuff as true, and you start labeling people, and you look around like, oh, who? Especially with the masculine, feminine stuff that's online right now. Masculine men don't do this. Feminine women don't do this. This person, get rid of women like this. Get rid of men like this. And we start accepting all these things. Mind you, the people that are teaching that, they're not wrong. That's their experience, literally. Like I'm sure everything they said to you was entirely true to their experience, because that's their beliefs. That's how they see things. And the second you say, oh, yeah, my person's doing that, I think that this person's right, and this is just a no-go because, yeah. And then you continue this. Or you don't have any really set beliefs about something at all, and then you start saying like, oh, you know what? I think that's true. And then you start viewing your person or someone in general through this lens of what you just agreed to be true. They're going to turn into that. Your experience will be now reflecting this new belief, this new assumption that someone random on the, I don't say random, but someone on the internet told you, and you say, oh yeah, mainly have a fearful state of just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stand up for myself now. That's true, right? When really, like, everything's just you. We're just activating stuff. There's so many different realities out there, infinite ones, infinite, and infinite states of being. And the one that when you hone in on labels and this person is this way because of this, and they're always going to be this way, and you keep them there, that's going to be your experience. You have to bring this stuff back to self. You have to get better at stabilizing yourself, not being so fearful. You have to give yourself a chance. Maybe stop scrolling for a little while and freaking yourself out. I know the anxious-avoidant one is a big one. It's like, oh, this person's being avoidant, and I have it. It's like, man, it's just because you're being, like, think about it. The two go hand in hand. You ever heard that saying that's like, if you treat someone like a celebrity, they have no choice but to treat you like a fan? Like, if you chase something, you're implying something's running. Like, there's just a lot of this stuff it's just hand in hand. Anxious-avoidant, narcissistic empath, right? Like, they just kind of they fit each other's mold. And when you stop being one of those molds, the other one has to reflect that. That's it. So, anyway, always return to self. Always find the completeness, the wholeness within. Remember, things are just thoughts. And it's really not who these people are. They are God too. We can't mistake people's unconscious behaviors or our unconscious projections and mistake these people for that's who they are. It's not who they are. It's a state of being, and in our particular experience, that's where we have them. When you change that, you'll change the experience. But it all starts with self. And trying to recognize the God within, because when you can do that, you can recognize the God with somebody else. Recognize the love within, because you can do that, you can recognize the love in somebody else. Those assumptions will naturally change. And then you have a different experience with this person that you've just labeled so unfixable, right? Nothing needs to be fixed. So anyway, that's all I got. See you guys soon.